You got it. Joyful day, beautiful beings, joyful all things, beautiful hearts. It is mine truly, yours maybe, Sierra M. Clark. So I got a hard question, a real question. So, can you miss what you never had? Like, this is a real question. Because this is where I landed in the process of wrestling with what's going on. Um, where to start? So we have a family property, right? We got a family property. I'll take that back. We had a family property. This property came by way of my grandfather, who left it to his children. So my grandfather, in this case, this is my mom's father. So my mom's father left her and her siblings properties. They have properties. That's plural, which means more than one. More than one. And this was the last one we had left. So this is a duplex, which anybody in real estate in any position understands and knows how you can come up buying a duplex. Now, I was too young to know all the nitty gritty of everything when my grandfather died. When my grandfather died, I was 11 years old. So at 11, I didn't know much about nothing as far as pertaining to family legacy, family property, real estate, putting things inside of a trust. And I thought we were communicating as a family. I thought we were communicating as a family, but I realized that we were not, right? And so what we're talking about is, can you miss what you never had? Because I'm mourning, I'm grieving a life that my grandfather, intentionally being an immigrant man coming from Belize, right? He came from Belize, met my grandmother somewhere in Lake City. They decided to move to St. Pete, make this space their home. In the time of that, and even being the interstate running through the first place that they stayed, at some point this man decided to buy property. And then he didn't just buy one property, he bought several properties. And so I'm grieving, I'm missing something that I never had. And there's a saying that you can't miss what you never had. But I'm missing it because my legacy could have been contingent upon what my grandfather laid, the foundation he laid. So I really want to ask her, so if you have family property, if you have a family anything, are y'all having family conversations about this? Now, for a long time, like when I realized about this family property, like I really went all in. I put money out of my 401k. I did a bunch of different things to help save and preserve the property. But then I started to realize that I'm just a grandchild. I am an extension of the benefit of what could happen here. It was my grandfather's children that should have been first partakers of what we was going to do with what they daddy left them, right? And so my mom was on drugs. Auntie Shantae was on drugs. So that left Auntie Patty, Auntie Wanda, Uncle Desmond. And yet still, somehow, the property right now is on Zillow for $99900. Right? So it's on Zillow, which means we could not figure out how to communicate as a family. And it's weird because, right, we could point the fingers on who what. But what I realize is anybody that I talk to about the family property, their conversation always consisted of not including somebody. And so me, because the way I'm set up, I wanted this to be the family's bank account, where that the family could benefit from it. Now, mind you, it might not, it was gonna have some rules and regulations to taking money out, but you would absolutely not have those high interest rates. You wouldn't need to rob Peter to pay Paul, right? My little cousins wouldn't have needed to go in debt to get their first car. We'd have absolutely been able to pay cash for a bunch of things that I didn't pay cash for. So really wanting to change the narrative around my family. And then one of my cousins, who is the daughter of Auntie Shantae, who currently has 6 kids, I believe, and her half, my Auntie Shantae half, went to her 4 children. And so when you don't do the right thing, you now have to pay for probate. Probate is very, very, very expensive. Now, it's intentionally designed that way because all they care about is money, right? If we don't know now, they take the things that we somehow still figure out how to own after all the redlining and all the marginalizing and all of that. Our people are still darn resilient, and still we get taxed. And so the family property now is listed on Zillow, and I'm a little disheartened, and I am grieving a legacy that I knew my grandfather desired for me to have. I know when he saw out to do a thing as a immigrant black man coming from Belize to make the city of St. Pete his home, that he was thinking of his family. The stuff that he had to endure that I don't even know all the details to, but I know him being a black man and wanted to do something great for his family. There was definitely opposition stopping him from wanting to do that, right? And so how can I not grieve the thing that was mine, or something that I should have been able to reap the benefit of? And because we can't figure out how to communicate as a people, which I think we've been set up, and now we take pride in not talking to our mama and our daddy and our grandparents. Oh, I don't fuck with my sister, I don't fuck with my brother, or whatever it is that we tell ourselves. But when it comes down to us leaving a legacy, why can't we figure out how to communicate, right? I ain't saying we gonna always like each other so much, because sometimes maybe your ways is a way and so are theirs, right? But no here, no there. Our counterparts, the people that look like this, our counterparts figure out they don't like each other, and yet still they know how to make money together. They understand the assignment that money is a thing and a frequency on this planet that you need to move certain things out the way. And I really thought, once I figured out about that, we had this last property, which was a duplex, and it had a piece of land on the back. And so when I really thought I saw life change for me, because I know and I understand to be true now the benefit and the leverage you have when you have property. I don't care, like, if you don't own the land, even if your house is on it, it's still a thing. This was land that we owned by way of my mother. And so again, my mom was on drugs when her dad died. So now the family felt like the drug addict could not have gotten her life together so much that she was paying the taxes on the property and doing everything for at least the last 12 years, right? And so it was almost not even a fight against saving the property. The fight was against that how dare my mom clean her life up and want something different. And so much that no one wanted to sit down to break bread, to have a conversation about what we can do as a family. And so this is when it hit me, when my cousin, 39 years old, found in the shower by her teenage son, when her mom was waiting on her to go to their friend's wedding. My aunt was home waiting on her daughter, and she was dead in the shower. And her brothers had to come from London. One had to come from London, The other one had to come from Wisconsin. They both have families of their own, so they had to take money out of their family bank account to come all the way to Florida to help their mom bury their sister, because there was no life insurance, there was no conversations, and no nothing. And sitting in the car over that funeral weekend talking to her brother, we talked about this property, and then it hit me of how we not only can do family different, but we can honor my grandfather, and we can have a family bank account, because the one thing that is sure to happen is that death is going to come again. We're going to meet together as a family around death. And is it fair that the family takes money out of their savings to come support another family member when it is that time? And I felt like it wouldn't, right? We had a whole big family duplex where people could have came from out of town, stayed, not have to pay hotel fees, the things that hinder people from coming to celebrate individuals at that time. Because I don't got the money, we didn't save, and half of us are not saving for conversation or this thing that's going to happen. Let me tell you, one day you're going to read about me, or I'm going to learn about you, that there is no longer breath in this body. The thing, what life is breath. Put your hand in front of your face like this and breathe out. What you feel on your hand, that's what life is. Life ain't all what we accumulate. Life ain't how bad and mad you can be at people and I wish a motherfucker would. Like, that's not life. Life is breath. And it's but a vapor. And you never know when you will take your last breath. And so that's life. And so since we can never really scientifically know, even when people who are diagnosed with illness, they give a roundabout time of their lifespan, because you still don't know. There's people who've been diagnosed with illnesses for months and still live years after, because we are not in control of when the breath leaves our body. We have no control of that. So why don't we then take control of the things that we do have control over? Y'all, I'm brokenhearted to know that. So I have to say that when I did the history or started learning about my family, learn about your family, that your kids understand where they come from. I get it. You might not be rocking with the daddy, or you might not be rocking with the mama, because I know some single fathers out here doing the thing. And so either way it go, those children deserve to understand where they come from. And so when I did the history of my grandparents, of my granddad, and it was strangely because my grandfather was the immigrant. He came from Belize. But in the digging of my family history and figuring out what was going on, I learned that I know less about my grandmother, which is my mother's mother, than the immigrant, which is my mother's father. So my mom's mom was born in the house somewhere in the backwoods, and she didn't even have a birth certificate. So my grandma was actually more of the mystery than my grandfather was. But when I learned about the man that my grandfather was in the time where being black, period, anything was a big problem, but not black educated enough to buy property. So I'm like, wait a minute, I came from a mind that knew enough to push against the constructs and the narratives of what they said that black and brown people were not deserving of and couldn't have. And so then I definitely identify as royal priesthood, right? I definitely identify as that I'm not this poor, broken down black girl from the hood, that I definitely come from good ground and good genes and good roots, right? And so once I learned of my history and learned that, it changed how I perceived and thought about myself. You know, off of Life, I think it's Martin. No, it's not Martin. It is Martin. Martin, when him and Eddie Murphy, they going out there to the juke joint, to the sugar shack. I can't even remember. But he said, you could tell by the way I walk that I'm not from around here. The way that I started walking, I walked differently because I now understood something more about my history and who I am and where I come from. where we come from is so prevalent, and hence why they've done a great job with distorting our history of the people, and even what America was even made out to be, still to this day. So my question is, can you miss what you've never had? Because I'm missing a part of me that I felt like I was deserving of when it comes from my grandfather, right? Because when you think about it, I get it. Women make the babies, but without the seed, the thing don't grow. Women are the fertile ground, the environment. The man plant the seed. And so without the seed that started my family, I wouldn't be here, right? So in spite of my mom or my dad and their indifferences, it took my grandfather to have the children, have my mama, and then my mama had the opportunity to have me. So even though my mom was on drugs and she wasn't active inside my life, who I am don't just stop with her, right? Where did I come from? And that's what I got to find out. And so when I found about this family property, I was really ready to do anything I possibly could to save the family property. And so it was weird how nobody, so this is what they said, nobody cares, Sierra. That's what they said. Nobody cares but you. But why don't you care was my question. Why don't, and then so when I asked my cousin, the one who has the 6 children, cousin, you know, we could do a whole thing with this property. And she was like, well, I bust my ass every day. And I'm like, I know, that's the point. Like, you busting your ass every day for a system and a group of people who don't care about your black and brown babies. So you busting your ass every day, but you steady making life, but you're not doing anything to preserve their history. Because their legacy. Because what we do with this family property will benefit your children, grandchildren, children. And no jab, but a real jab, because you don't want to understand what we could do here, but you understood how to order your lace front. Right? I want to just be real of the stuff that we make conscious decisions on, what we want to know and what we do not want to know. And so the fight continued. And the fight continued so much that I am grieving something that I never had, but I knew that I was deserving of. Right? And so what are we doing as families? You mean to tell me like we can't communicate? Like we just gonna continue to work, and we're never gonna get the real return on investment? Or the good life is only good for black people on TV and not for the real hard working person like you, those who've cried at night and prayed for God to do a thing. And how it can be done is preserving our family history. And so now I have to grieve what my grandfather, I know he intended to water down or to overflow in my life, and I won't get that opportunity. So have the conversation. Don't wait. You can't wait till the person is dead, because now you're going to have to go through a trust. That is a long, awful, expensive process. Make sure they're writing those things out now. Make sure the deed is updated now so you don't have to do that. And it should absolutely benefit everybody in the family, not just one person, especially if it's a family property or if it belonged to grandma. Grandma loved all her kids in spite of the one that you want to X out. My grandfather loves all his children, and I'm sure he did, hence why he did what he did and went and bought all these properties. At one point, my family had enough land where all 5 of my grandfather's children could have left 5 pieces of land to all of their children. But no one, while my grandfather was alive, took the time to ask the questions, took the time to learn the information. They were spending granddaddy money, but nobody took the time to make sure that we preserve granddaddy money. And so, can we grieve something that we never had? And I believe we can, because I absolutely am. Thank y'all for listening. Y'all keep smiling, keep shining. A better you equals a better me.